Hey friends, today on Gardening with Creekside, I am excited to share with you my top 10 favorite shrubs for southern gardens. If you are a southerner like I am, North Carolina, Zone 7B, you understand that we have some really unique challenges growing here in the south. We have heat, humidity, very long growing season, and some shrubs do a lot better than others. So I'm really excited to share these top 10 shrubs with you today. They are all from proven winners. If you are familiar with us, we are a grower retailer here in Dallas, North Carolina. We have a great relationship with Proven Winners and the folks over at Spring Meadow Nursery. And so these are just plants that we have had in our gardens, both as a home gardener and as a professional grower to sell to our customers, and they have all performed magnificently well. And so that is my job, is to figure out what plants do well here, and so that way I can share them with you. Now you may be sitting at home thinking, Jenny, it is the beginning of January. What in the world? I cannot go out and be planting shrubs right now. Maybe not, but what you can do is start planning your garden for this coming year. I love January and February as a gardener because this is where my mind can just dream and plan of all the fun things that I want to do in my garden. So what I want you to do is grab your gardening journal, get comfy, get your favorite beverage, get nice and settled, and we're going to go over these top 10 fantastic shrubs for the South. All right, so let's get down to business and talk about some really fun shrubs that you can add to your garden. Now, I will say also that this list is not exclusive to southern gardeners alone. This is by far these plants are very adaptable for a whole host of regions, okay? I'm just saying that these plants can really handle the conditions here in the South. So if you are not a southerner and you're like, well, this is not going to be any good for me. Oh, yes, it is. It really is. So just stay tuned. Now, I have my handy dandy clipboard with all my information because there's a lot of numbers and information, and I want to make sure that I get it right. So forgive me for having my notes. So, in my opinion, no southern garden could be complete without a hydrangea. And so Little Lime Punch is a really fun new hydrangea that is just a fantastic performer for us. Panicles do really, really well in the South, and that is because they can handle our heat and humidity just like champs. So Little Lime Punch is that new addition to kind of that Limelight, Little Lime, Limelight Prime, that kind of whole category of hydrangeas. It is going to have hardy in zones 3 to 8. It's going to be a little bit more on the more compact size of that 3 to 5 feet tall and wide, and it will do really well in full sun to part sun. I have mine in full all-day sun. Now they are on irrigation and they did just beautiful. Last year, throughout the growing season, they were stunning and gorgeous. One of the many reasons why I like the Little Lime Punch is because it is really compact, has really nice, strong, sturdy stems. I did not have any floppy blooms whatsoever, and that plant was absolutely covered in blooms. Now, along with those other those panicles and that Limelight family of hydrangeas, they will start that beautiful creamy white, and then Punch got its name because it will turn a really vibrant pink and red color. In the South, we do struggle with our panicles turning those rosy pink red colors. It is nothing that we are doing. It is because our nights do not cool down, and that is what causes the flowers to begin that color change. Those cool nighttime temperatures is what causes that color explosion. So what I'm going to do this year is I am going to begin pruning my punches a little bit earlier. I'm just going to make bouquets out of them. It's not going to be an official pruning of my hydrangea, so that I will have a reflush of blooms later on in the season, like maybe September, and then those nights do start to get cool, and then hopefully I will get some more red color. Last year I did get pink, I just didn't get that vibrant red. Now, another thing that is great about the Little Lime Punch is that it can handle the clay soil really, really well. We have red clay where we live, and they have done fantastic. It just knocks your socks off when you start growing this. You're going to be super proud to have this in your garden, because it is an absolute beautiful hydrangea. So look for Little Lime Punch at your local garden center. Next, you gotta have hydrangeas, you gotta have azaleas if you're a southern gardener. And this is more, instead of just one plant, this is gonna be a series. It is the Perfecto Mundo series of azaleas. Now I know the tag says double pink, so I just grabbed that tag. I do love the double pink because it is one of our top selling azaleas here at Creekside. It is a beautiful, soft pink, and it's just a gorgeous plant. But Perfecto Mundo was actually developed at NC State. So if it was developed at NC State, you know it's going to perform really well here in the South. It's a really nice, dense, compact, reblooming azalea that is hardy in zones about 6B to 9. So if you're in a zone 6 and you've never really been able to grow azaleas, this might be an option for you. They're going to vary in size and color. They can go all the way from white to pink to red to hot pink to an orange, and anywhere from like 1 foot tall up to like 5 feet tall. So there's going to be a Perfecto Mundo azalea that is going to fit great in your garden. It is going to be part to full sun. They definitely need more sun than maybe the old traditional azaleas, because they are going to be rebloomers. They're going to bloom in the spring, the summer, and then again in the fall. These azaleas do bloom on both new growth and old growth. So you're going to be kind of careful of when you're going to prune it. Because the spring bloom is on old growth, you do not want to prune it in the fall. If you're going to prune your Perfecto Mundos, you want to do it immediately after that spring flush. And you can just do a little bit of a trim, and that will encourage that new growth. And about 8 to 10 weeks later, you're going to get your second flush of blooms in the summer. Of course, the azaleas, they attract your pollinators, nice and compact, heat tolerant, and it is even a good option if you have a small patio and you want to put a plant and a shrub in a container. Then the Perfecto Mundos would be definitely a good option for you. And they are more resistant to lace bugs, which is a common problem with azaleas. So Perfecto Mundos, great option to add those azaleas to your garden. Butterfly bushes. Do love some butterfly bushes, but a lot of those old-timey butterfly bushes would just get too big, like they were monsters. Well, the Pugster series is a great answer to that, and we especially love the Pugster Blue. It has been one of the top performers even within the series for us. The Pugsters are going to be hardy in zones from like 5 to 9. And they're only going to be a 2x2, so nice and petite. Again, if you wanted to put it in a container, you certainly could do that. They do great in the front of your border of your bed. Now, butterfly bushes do need full sun. They are a full sun plant that hate to be fussed over. So kind of the worse the soil is, and the hotter and the drier your location is, the happier they are for sure. They are also deer resistant. So if you have deer pressure in your garden, then this could be an option for you. When I say deer resistant, I do not mean deer proof. There is no such plant that is deer proof. If a deer is hungry, it will eat anything. So when I say deer resistant, it just means that it's not going to be on the top of their menu. But even though it's a petite plant, a 2x2, you're still going to get nice, big, huge, massive, full-size blooms. And that blue is just an absolute gorgeous color. To take care of it, you're only going to trim it just to shape it in early spring. You want to wait until you start to see some new growth just begin to pop out, and then you're just going to shape it. You're not going to do a really hard prune on these butterfly bushes. When they're nice and petite, you want just to trim it. Just get a little haircut. And it does not require to be deadheaded to have that continuous blooms, but they will bloom from like the whole growing season all the way up through the fall. It's going to be a hard freeze that's going to cause them to stop blooming, but they are just absolutely gorgeous. And like again, drought tolerant, pollinator attractor, just heat tolerant, wonderful, wonderful plants. Easy to take care of. Again, they hate to be fussed over. Next is the double play doozy spirea. We have this in several locations of our garden, and it is just an absolute showstopper. This is one of those plants that not only as the homeowner, but as a grower, we love double play doozy because they are just so easy and hardy to take care of. They handle cold temperatures just like a champ and they don't even miss a beat. If it gets cold, not a problem. This is another one that was developed at NC State. So it's a great choice for us Southern gardeners. It is hardy in zones 3 through 8, even as a 7B. Sometimes I'm a little leery about those zone 8 shrubs, but this one does great. It is in full sun as well, on irrigation, and has not missed a beat. I mean, it has not suffered whatsoever. It's going to be 2 to 3 feet tall and wide, part to full sun, and with that irrigation, it's like low or moderate. The reason we have it on irrigation is because it is in the full all-day sun. Now, some people really struggle with spireas in different parts of the country because they can be invasive. Double play doozy is the first ever sterile spirea, so it is non-invasive. It does not set seeds. So if you've had problems in your gardens with spireas before, maybe you want to check out doozy. It is a great one. Gorgeous hot pink blooms on it. It's going to be a late spring bloomer, deep pink red, and it's going to have just a lot of fun foliage colors on it as well, and it blooms continuously throughout the growing season. It does bloom on new growth, so that means, again, late winter, early spring, give it a nice little trim to shape it up, and then that way you're encouraging new growth when the warm temperatures come. New growth means lots of pretty flowers for your double play doozy. It is deer resistant as well, and it tolerates many different types of soil. So whether you have clay soil like I do, or maybe you're a little bit more sandy, somewhere in between, it'll handle you just fine. And then the different growing conditions, it can handle it really well as that. Pollinator attractor, huge. These pollinators love this plant, and it's a really fun, easy plant to do, and it just brings really fun pop of color. We got a late frost last year, and while other spireas took a hard hit, I mean, it killed all of that new growth, doozy was like, this is nothing, I am good. And they were absolutely gorgeous, both in the landscape and in the containers at the nursery. So very hardy. So if you get that late freeze, your doozies can handle it and do great. So double play doozy is definitely a doozy of a plant, and add it to your garden as soon as you can. Another fun hydrangea, Firelight tidbit. This is one of those hydrangeas that we cannot keep in stock at the nursery. It is just a fantastic hardy hydrangea that is a rock star performer. I am a huge fan of just regular old Firelight, because Firelight, which gets nice and big, that panicle hydrangea, it will do the creamy white to the pink. And Firelight for me is one of those rare panicles that I actually do get some rose mauve color. So then when they came out with Firelight tidbit, which is a nice petite little hydrangea, only 2 to 3 feet tall, still hardy in zones 3 to 8, that reliably will go from creamy white to pink, sign us up, because so many people don't have room to put huge, massive a Firelight, but they want that same kind of flower power in their garden. So tidbit is a great option for you. It is a very dwarf hydrangea, definitely meant from the front of the border. You could put it in a container as well. It is a late season bloomer, and it is a full mop head hydrangea. So even though I say it's a panicle and I say it's a mop head, even within the panicle hydrangeas, it's the different types of blooms on the flower head itself. So this is considered a mop head. Really nice, dense, beautiful flower power on it. And it was really interesting. So this would be a great one that if you wanted to, if you're a fan of the Super Tunia Vista bubblegum, this would be a great one to pair with it. So put your tidbits in the back, put some bubblegums up in the front, and it would be gorgeous. I think I have told this story before, but we actually planted some Firelight tidbits at our church, and it was in a new construction bed. So they had to have some construction, and then they needed, of course, construction was over, and they had this flower bed. So we put various plants in there, but we put in the Firelight tidbit. It gets lots of good morning sun in this spot, and then it is in the shade. Of course, being at a church, being near an entrance is a high traffic area, and these plants performed beautiful. We put them in like the absolute worst time of year you probably could. It was late July. It was incredibly hot. This is not on irrigation. So we planted them, and of course they were watered and taken care of, but it's not like this was prime conditions. And then later that season, somebody, I'm sure it was a kid, fell on one and just broke it to pieces. Honey, that thing did not mind that at all. It bounced back and just full of blooms. So huge performer, even in areas that are neglected or not taken care of. So look for Firelight tidbit. If you find them, grab them, because I can't promise that they're going to be around for long because they are so extremely popular. Another iconic shrub with the South is gardenias. And so we adore gardenias. I especially love a gardenia. It is probably my favorite flower of all time. But we actually struggle here in where we are in zone 7B, that sometimes our winters we can have cold spells and our gardenias will get burnt. And so you have kind of all that dieback, and then by the time they flush back out, you're just not getting a lot of good blooms. Well, Steady As She Goes really solves all of those problems. It is a gorgeous double bloom gardenia, which is very important in my opinion, that is hardy in zones 7 to 10. It's going to be about 3 to 5 feet tall and wide, and just like other gardenias, it's going to need your full to part sun. Steady As She Goes is an improved version of Chuck Hayes, and Chuck Hayes has performed great for us even in really cold temperatures. It is a continuous bloomer, which if you can have a gardenia that's a continuous bloomer, wonderful. If you're not familiar with gardenias, they are just this beautiful creamy white double bloom that had the most delicious fragrance you have ever smelled. It is my absolute favorite flower for sure. So being a continuous bloomer, it just keeps producing new flowers even in the heat of the summer. And it has improved heat and cold tolerance. Just like a lot of part of the country, we recently had that Arctic storm that came through, and we have some Steady As She Goes in containers here at the house that are going to go in the landscape. They suffered zero damage. There is no burn on them, and they are great. So super excited about that. They are deer resistant, heat and humidity tolerant. They thrive in the humidity, so which is perfect for the South. And a great thing is you rarely need to prune them. They really have a nice tight habit naturally, so you're not going to need to prune them. If you do, you would want to do it at a time where after they have bloomed, kind of like after that first initial flush of blooms, then just give them a gentle shape. You're going to lose, of course, some blooms for a little bit, but by the end of the season, you maybe could get some, and then the following year, you would have your nice big flush of blooms for sure. So Steady As She Goes is a fantastic gardenia to add to your garden. Now, another shrub that has a delicious fragrance is vanilla spice. And vanilla spice is a type of summersweet. I'll never forget, so we were growing this up at production, and I think we were doing a video, and I was like, what is that smell? It was the most delicious fragrance. Well, it was vanilla spice. This shrub is hardy in zones 4 to 9, so extremely adaptable as far as your growing zones. And it's going to be anywhere from 3 to 6 feet tall and wide. And you can kind of keep it whatever shape you want to. It's going to be a part to full sun, And it does need a little bit more water. So that means if you have an area in your yard or your garden that constantly stays wet, the other things just don't grow there, then you might want to try vanilla spice. It is a great one to do. Very fragrant, extra large white flowers that come in midsummer. Pollinators go nuts over this plant. It will be covered in your honeybees and your bumblebees and all of your wonderful pollinators that are in your garden. It is deer resistant, loves those moist soils, excellent pollinator plant, and then this fall, it really just showed off with that foliage. So you get those beautiful white blooms in the midsummer, and then come fall, the plant will turn the brightest yellow you have ever seen. So just imagine this 3 to 6 foot size plant that is absolutely glowing yellow in the fall. Gorgeous. And if you put a couple of them together, it will make a huge impact in your garden. They are deciduous, and if you need to prune them, you want to do that in early spring. Again, do that before it sets its buds, and just when you start to see maybe some new growth or right before, then that is the perfect time to go ahead and prune it. But you are going to love this plant. Great flowering shrub that gives a great fragrance, attracts your pollinators, kind of maybe in that time of your garden, that midsummer, where we're not in the spring, but you're not in the fall color yet. It's kind of that mid-season bloomer, will be a great one to add for sure. Now, we talk a lot about, as far as here at the nursery with our customers, about foundation plants. And a foundation plant is something that is a great evergreen plant that gives you structure in your garden year round. Sprinter boxwood is a fantastic foundation plant that is extremely adaptable in a wide range of growing conditions. It is can do full sun all the way up to shade. It is one of the most shade tolerant shrubs out there, just in the horticultural world. Hardy in zones 5 to 9, and the mature size is going to be 2 to 4 feet tall and wide. Now, boxwoods, sometimes I've found that people either love boxwoods or they despise boxwoods. And so it has a lot to do either with like a childhood memory, or they don't like the smell of them, or they've had boxwood blight and they're just like, these plants are just a problem. Well, Sprinter really does solve a lot of those issues because it is a Japanese style boxwood, not an English boxwood. Japanese boxwoods, they do not have that odor that is a lot of times associated with your boxwoods. It has more, it is boxwood blight resistant, so it has the resistance built into it, so you're not going to have to worry about that, and it's hardier than an English boxwood. So very, very easy to take care of. We have multiples of them around our back patio. I have not had any kind of like brown leaves. I've not had any pest issues. I prune them once a year coming out of winter going into spring, and I just do a gentle shape. If you wanted to use them as a topiary or you wanted to use them as a hedge, they would be fantastic. So they respond really well to being pruned. Gorgeous glossy green leaves, fast grower, easy to take care of, and just a fantastic plant that if you have either the full sun or the shade and you need to have it in there, then that would be a great one. And deer resistant. It is, again, one of the most deer resistant shrubs out there. And so if you've got shade, deer, the whole 9 yards, check out Sprinter boxwood. It would be a great option for you as well in your garden. Oh, Beyond Pink Caryopteris. Now, this is a new shrub. Caryopteris is not new, but Beyond Pink is new. And our friends at Spring Meadows sent us some about this time last year to add to our garden. And it is a late season bloomer. And so for a lot of part of this gardening time early in the season, you really don't notice it very much. But when this shrub starts to bloom, it is absolutely stunning. It does beautiful, true, very soft pink flowers in that late summer through the fall. Gorgeous, really unique, very upright habit on it. It's only going to get 2 to 2.5 feet tall, but it has that upright habit. It is hardy in zones 7B through 9. So this is one of those that may be a little bit just for the south because it is for those warmer temperatures. It does require full sun, but it likes it really dry. So if you think of how you take care of your butterfly bush, this is how you're going to take care of your Beyond Pink. So full sun, more on the dry side. You don't want to put this in really wet soil. It is very, very deer resistant, which of course we love for those of you that have deer pressure in your garden. But again, just to really reinforce this, that good drainage in your garden is imperative for your Beyond Pink. So if you're in doubt, put it in that dry spot in your garden. As far as taking care of it, you want to cut it back really hard in the early spring so that way it can have a beautiful flush of new growth. It is, like I said, the deer resistant, drought tolerant, and a huge pollinator attractor. It really attracts all those beautiful pollinators late in the summer into fall when maybe some other things in your gardens are looking a little sad, they need a little pep. Well, the Beyond Pink is definitely one that if you have folks over your house or your garden, they are just going to go, what is that plant? That is exactly what Jerry did over at the trial garden late this summer, because I had told him about this Beyond Pink, and then he saw it and he was like, oh my gosh, yes, that is an absolutely gorgeous shrub. So lots of fun. Add the Beyond Pink caryopteris to your shopping list for sure. Now, the last shrub of the day, number 10, really is technically 2 shrubs, but I consider them, in my silly little brain, 1 shrub. It is yin and yang viburnum. This is definitely going to be one that is more for the south because it's only hardy in zones 7B through 9. It too was developed at NC State. And again, our folks at Spring Meadow sent us these a couple of years ago. And so I have 1 yin and I have 1 yang planted right off of our patio. They are a beautiful evergreen viburnum. They are actually a type of David viburnum. So they are evergreen. If you're familiar with other viburnums, they are deciduous. These are beautiful evergreens. These would be a great option to have as a foundation planting. Maybe if you really don't like boxwoods, well then maybe you can do yin and yang viburnum. You can do olive yin or you can do olive yang, but when you plant yin and yang together, they will cross-pollinate. And so, kind of like blueberries, right? So they will cross-pollinate and you will get fun little blue berries on the plant. Not a blueberry, but a blue berry that gives you lots of interest on the plant later on in the season. They're going to be around that 2 to 4 foot range. I have found that I have not pruned mine at all. I have just let them go because they have kept a really nice compact habit on them, but they're getting more to be in that like 3 foot range. So come this early spring, I'm just going to gently shape them up. I'm not going to do a hard prune, just a nice gentle shape. But what is so fun about yin and yang viburnum is their foliage, which is a really beautiful glossy, kind of in that blue, has blue undertones in the green, so it's really neat. And then their stems almost, depending, they kind of change throughout the season, could be black, they can be red, they can have all different hues to their stems. Really fun. And then in the spring they do beautiful little white, like a lace cap type bloom on them. Really fun, and something that I really encourage you, especially if you are a southern gardener and you can find yin and yang viburnum. They are probably one of my favorite shrubs, and I talk about them all the time when people come and they're like, what is that? I'm like, it is yin and yang viburnum. They are absolutely fantastic, and they are deer resistant, they are disease resistant, and of course, being an evergreen shrub is always a beautiful bonus to have in your garden. So that is my top 10 shrubs for southern gardeners and beyond. So make sure that you check out your local garden center come this spring. Shop early, right? You want to go early for the best selection. We will have these, of course, here at Creekside Nursery. So if you come to visit us, we will have them. But if not, I really encourage you, visit your local garden center and go ahead and maybe start calling them and say, hey, are you going to have these shrubs? Because it is the perfect time for garden centers to add these to their orders. Even if they're a grower, they can still have these come in and have them ready, maybe not for the spring, but a little bit later on in the season for you. So get out there, start making some plans for your garden, have a lot of fun, and as always, thanks so much for gardening with Creekside. We'll see y'all in the next video. Bye, friends.